How's it going, guys and geeks? Welcome back to the Geekritique show. I'm Dakota.
And I'm Jen.
And we're going to be talking about Iron Fist. Now, this is something that's come out a few weeks ago, and usually for the Netflix Marvel series, we binge it within the first 3 to 4 days, maybe even less. Especially the first Daredevil. I saw that in one day. I thought that was fantastic.
Oh no, he watched the ending without me. That almost led into divorce.
Almost.
This close. He's on the fine line.
Just after we got married, too. It was our first real argument.
No, Name of the Wind was our first real argument.
Yeah, more on Name of the Wind later in another video.
But yeah, usually with the Netflix Marvel shows, we've been really into them, go through them very quickly. This one was a bit of, I don't want to say a struggle, but not a priority for us. It was kind of like, yeah, we'll get to that later, but I'm watching this right now, or I'm reading. I don't really need to.
It would end up being like 2 episodes here, 1 episode there, and we finally just sat down these past 2 days and just finished it. And now we're here to talk about, is it actually crap? Is it actually the mess that everyone is saying that it is? Is it the worst of the Marvel Netflix shows so far? Short answer, no.
Long answer, yes.
So, we're going to be discussing what that means. I enjoyed it just about as much as I enjoyed Luke Cage. I'll go so far as to say that.
Yeah, I think looking back, like I really liked Luke Cage. I don't know how else to put it, but I liked the culture that they had going on. I liked certain aspects of it. I really liked the characters. You know, Misty Knight was extremely cool to me. I really liked a lot of aspects about it, but the plot itself and the villains especially didn't really do much for me. Whereas this is kind of the other end where everybody's like really jacked up, and I don't really, not that I don't care about each of them, but honestly, you know, Harold was the one that I liked the most. I don't know why, I got a kick out of him.
Harold was great.
Yeah, Harold was really great to watch. But the other characters, to me, you know, besides Rosario Dawson's character, Claire Temple, just really weren't doing it for me. So it's kind of like, at this point, it's like, what do you prefer? Strong characters or a strong plot? And that's kind of your decision between, you know, Iron Fist and Luke Cage.
Yeah, and we're comparing Luke Cage specifically because that was, at the time, the weakest of the 3 Netflix series by far. I felt anyway. I really enjoyed Jessica Jones. I thought that had probably the best villain of them all. And yeah. Daredevil is the best, like, ground hero type show ever. So that was fantastic.
Well, I mean, you can't really talk about Iron Fist without talking about the other Marvel shows, because the reason why people are saying Iron Fist sucks is because Marvel has created a standard and they've set a precedent for themselves, and when they aren't keeping up, that's why people automatically say this sucks. If you saw that on the CW, if it was, you know, like Arrow or something, probably a lot of people would have like a different impression of it, if you ask me.
Totally. Because the difference between a Netflix series and something that you can put on cable television, like the CW, like Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, you get away with a lot more cheesiness in those shows, and that you don't expect and you don't want in a show like Iron Fist that you're actually paying Netflix monthly to see. If you do compare it to other shows like those CW shows, Iron Fist comes out on top, honestly. It's a far better show than any of those, and the character building and the plot is, for the most part, very solid. So let's actually talk a little bit about the character of Danny Rand, the controversy surrounding the character, the actor, and some of the early press that the show received was very negative because they chose to choose a white actor over perhaps a Asian American actor. I guess the big argument from Marvel is that this is a character who has always traditionally been a white character in the comic books. So choosing Finn Jones as the character of Danny Rand just seemed like the natural fit for them, I guess. But a lot of people had issue and took umbrage with the fact that they didn't choose a more diverse role.
At the end of the day, I think this comes down to the same thing that we've always said is, why is the nationality of the actor relevant when it should be skill that is prioritized. I'm sure there were a lot of Asian actors who could have did a better job than Finn Jones. He really wasn't my favorite, but there were other factors, you know, on his end that kind of, you know, made this a little more difficult for him. But I think the question that we really should be asking is, why didn't they choose a real martial artist? And why didn't they take the choreography seriously and give him the time to learn, since he wasn't a martial artist when they start, you know, before they signed him on? So I think that's the more important question. I do understand that, you know, in the time period that the comics were written, diversity wasn't an issue. So a lot of the characters were just white men. So I get why people are saying, well, now, you know, society's growing and we're trying to make things different. So I get that, and that's, you know, commendable. But I think really we shouldn't be focused so much on the race as much as the skill. And
beyond just getting a real martial artist, because you can teach someone martial arts, the choreography is just as important, if not more important, I feel, than actually knowing martial arts, because you can learn some tricks, you can learn some scenes, you can learn some fights. Yeah, look at Daredevil. It's like a dance, you learn. In this, they clearly prioritized everything else before the choreography of the dances, the fights, and they missed a trick there, because this is a character who is supposedly the greatest fighter of them all, who was trained in a monastery his entire life, or at least the past 15 years, to become the Iron Fist, and all he has to show for it is a fist that glows.
And then the times where he didn't really have the Iron Fist, he doubted himself. I feel like he would still be a good fighter and still, you know, do what he could. But he made a lot of, I am no martial artist, but a lot of very simple fighting mistakes and things that someone who is trained in a monastery to fight their entire life would never do. So, for example, in one fight scene, there's a door slightly ajar, and he just kind of pushes in and just goes to walk in, and it's like, I don't know, I just think that's obviously a setup. Like, the person is on the other end waiting for you. Like, you don't just kind of barrel through doors. There would be scenes where he's just, like, barging through. Like, his steps were always so loud. Always. Go and rewatch scenes. You will see how loud this guy's steps are. What the heck kind of ninja are you? And, like, obviously I don't expect Finn Jones to walk like a ninja, but why did they keep his foot noises in there? Why couldn't they edit that out?
Right, muffle them out at least.
Yeah, muffle them. Like, there's no reason. I don't want to hear a ninja's footsteps ever.
Notice scenes...
Especially for someone who's supposed to be barefoot, like, all the time. Dude.
Notice scenes with Colleen Wing. You don't ever hear her footsteps when she's running up a building, when she's running into a hallway and then hiding behind a wall. She was a far better pick for that kind of role, and it has nothing to do with her race. They just chose a lighter-footed actress.
Yeah, and it's like, even if, you know, you don't need a light-foot actor to muffle out their footsteps.
It's true.
It's just classic ninja things he wasn't getting.
And the rest of...
As soon as he would walk into, like, wherever he was going, he'd rip his hood off. It's like, no, like... Keep that on. No need to take your hood off just because you entered a room. Calm down.
And as far as the rest of the character that was Danny Rand, that Finn Jones portrayed, I never once felt this was a real character. I never felt sorry for him. I never felt any empathy or rage or compassion. This is a character who was kind of like a Peter Pan almost. He was like a kid who never got the chance to grow up, but did. I guess the psychological trauma that he had to go through as a kid, I bought that, and I bought the fact that this guy was clearly a little bit crazy. A lot of people are saying he's the worst part of the show, and I'll have to agree with them.
For me, the worst part of the show, there's two worst parts. For me, it's the overall, like, lack of meaning behind it. Like, I feel like so far all of the Marvel shows have had like a strong impact on like social justice, and you know, and I'm not like a social justice warrior or anything, but I really have always like been supportive of the like underlying messages that they had going on and things that they had talked about, and you know, you could really feel for the characters and feel like they were real people. And there's so many people with problems in New York that like you just can pick one, you know. And I feel like he just wasn't relatable at all. But not only that, everybody was just really stupid. And those are my two biggest problems. Like, they didn't have, like, overall, like, morals or anything. Like, everybody was just jacked up and, like, being crazy with each other. I don't know. And the other issue is that everybody made very simple mistakes that real successful people in New York, come on, like, they're supposed to be intelligent.
Right.
Basic things, just, you know, this hinders the plot for them to know this, so we're just gonna have them blindly ignore it and move on and keep doing what they're doing. I felt like I was watching Gossip Girl. Like, what the heck?
So let's talk about some of the other characters, actually. Because some of them I expected to like more than others, but then it turned out to be kind of the opposite, where I ended up liking everyone else and not these characters. And I really expected that Joy Meacham would have been one of my favorite characters of this series. But I have to say, her potential was hinted at, never realized. So just in case you weren't sure, guys, this video does have spoilers in it. I know it's a little late to be telling you that, but we're going to be getting into it now. Joy Meacham, she had a plan to get back at all the board members, and that kind of fell through when she met her father again. She kind of became Harold's lackey for a little bit. Did his thing, then got shot. Blindly
ignored, you know, clear signs showing that he was psychotic. And whatever happened to the body in his, like, terrarium?
Oh, he got rid of it.
It was, like, there, and then it just...
He's got his means. He's got plenty of men.
Yeah, that's true. He does.
But anyway,
I kept being like, is she gonna look over at some moment and see, like, a rotting corpse? I don't know. Sorry, I cut you off.
Joy Meacham never really realizes her full potential, and I was very disappointed with that. Her character feels really empty by the end of the season. We don't really get much from her.
And I get where they're coming from in the sense that if your father died, you would be so overwhelmingly happy to have him back that you would just not really question a lot of the stuff that he does. But then when your brother, who has always been there for you, and you guys have always been, like, fairly close, because at the beginning of the season they made it seem like her and Ward were extremely close, like oddly close, and then as things go on it's like, oh, okay, they, like, actually hate each other. Like, I don't understand how quickly things turn like that. You know, if your brother who loves you is telling you, like, no, Dad's insane, I've known about him this whole time and I'm telling you he's insane, just, you know, it makes sense to listen to your brother over your father who's been dead for 13 years.
Right. Now, let's talk about Ward, her brother.
I actually liked Ward.
At first, I didn't.
Yeah.
At first, he was the jerk. I thought this is going to be probably one of the villains of the series. And in a way, he was an antagonist at the start, but he became a character that's in it for himself. And I appreciate that. I appreciate a character in the middle who's not opposed to doing the right thing, but he's not opposed to doing the wrong thing either. And he does a little bit of both throughout the first season of the show. And we do see a actual arc for this character where he clearly dislikes Danny. He does not want to believe that Danny's back, to someone who actually wants to help Danny at the end. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we have to see him hit rock bottom before he gets picked up and reaches that potential. But I actually found that actor to be very convincing. Yeah,
I liked his acting.
I thought the performance was really well done, and I thought the character was really compelling. He had some serious daddy issues.
Yes, he did. I really liked how, you know, from beginning to end, his priority was taking care of his sister, his only remaining family member, and I think that redeemed his character quite a bit. Even in just the basic ways, like, I did enjoy him. I just got a kick out of him from the start. Mm-hmm. Even though I didn't really, like, particularly like him, I liked the actor. You know, I thought he did a very good job.
Yeah.
Alright, so why don't we talk about Colleen Wing? What do you think?
I don't have an opinion. I really don't. I didn't like the twist in the middle that she was like a hand agent trying to get close to Danny. I never bought it.
No, I liked her character. Some stuff that she did, again, I can't remember specifics, but there were some moments and I'm like, what is she thinking right now? What is she doing? What is this? But I think for the most part, I liked her character. I liked that she was trying to help people. And some people too, and the road to hell is paved with good intentions type of thing. Like, she blindly wasn't really seeing, you know, clear indicators with her sensei that he was kind of crazy. Like, literally the second he was on screen, I was like, I do not like that guy. Like, he is a weirdo. You know, like, she thought she was doing the right thing and they'd helped her in the past, so she blindly kind of, it was like a blind faith sort of thing. And that that type of thing does convince people to do, you know, dumb stuff. But I liked her character. I liked that she was kind of a tough cookie. Their relationship seemed strained to me. And I think it's more of the lack of chemistry between them that was more of a problem. But Colleen's, like, scenes on her own, she was strong, I think.
You touched on something that I want to talk about. The characters don't have chemistry. She had far more chemistry with Rosario Dawson's Claire Temple than she did with Danny Rand, and that is unfortunate.
Yeah.
They clearly did not test these actors together properly.
Yeah, again, like, I was watching something on the CW. Like, it just didn't seem Netflix worthy.
One thing I didn't like about Iron Fist, and I know we're talking about a lot of things that we didn't like, we did enjoy the show. For the most part, it was a solid series. It wasn't Daredevil, it wasn't Jessica Jones, and it was kind of on par with Luke Cage for us. We liked Luke Cage for the most part. But
yeah, I liked Luke Cage, but I wasn't like as eager to watch each episode as I was with like Jessica Jones and Daredevil.
There wasn't that hook factor with this series, and I think a large portion of that is the first few episodes just don't hook you. And I think that's been the opposite case with every other Netflix series so far. The first few episodes are extremely strong. It took a really long time for us to actually get into the rhythm of things. I think the first episode in itself was just like cringe after cringe. Like the moment he jumped over the car.
Oh gosh.
Like he never showed any signs that he could do that ever again in the show. Like why even show the fact that he jumped over a car? Crazy bum Danny Rand jumps over a taxi cab in a really awkward, clearly strung up way.
Yeah, and that's one thing too. Like the fight scenes, a lot of them were clumsy with him, and you know, we were doing some research on that, just kind of like getting a feel for like his martial arts background and stuff, and he did say that they only gave him 15 minutes to prepare any fight scenes, and you, especially in that first episode, you can really see that he was ill prepared for that, and that's not fair to the actor.
No. And
apparently his schedule was absolutely insane, but at the same time, that's the schedule for a lot of actors during filming, like absolutely insane with training and all of that. So I think that's partially, you know, the actor not having like the experience, but also Marvel really not understanding that and not giving him the time that he needs. Like you should either be more careful with choosing your lead or train him very properly. And you can't just, you know, throw rookies in there and expect them to just get things right off the hand, especially right off the bat.
I think it's kind of like a Hayden Christensen sort of thing. Like the director clearly did not go over what they wanted for Danny. I'm sure Finn Jones could have performed a much better role if he was, you know, helped into it. But I think he did as good of a job as he could have with the parts and the time given to him. Because again, it was read anywhere. It was a rush job.
Yeah.
Making this series. And some scenes were clearly filmed out of order. I think it was episode 10 or something. Maybe it was episode 9. But there's a scene where he realizes that Colleen was deceiving him from the start. They get into a huge fight. He leaves. The very next scene is like nighttime and he's sitting on the bed and she's asleep. And it's like they didn't even fight. He didn't even just walk out on her. Like there was no...
Yeah, because he left and then we were like, why is he back in her room? What is she doing asleep? Like, I don't understand.
So there are some issues with the series.
And I think they had like a huge opportunity missed in the sense that different issues that are going on in the world currently that they could have touched on. Like I thought when they were talking about the hand and saying like, oh, there's some good and there's some bad, that it was going to be kind of a parallel to other religions that people think, oh, that's horrible, that's, you know, extremists, they're all terrible people, and then you find out like, no, there are good and bad people, you know, in a lot of different religions.
Right.
I thought they were going to go in that direction, but this is just an outright cult, and she's the only normal one in it. And everybody else is completely brainwashed, and there's just Colleen Wing who is able to resist the power. And it's like, that's just not realistic. Like, you know, and it's not really fair to say this religion is a cult, and this religion is good. And, you know, that kind of bugged me because it's like, you had an opportunity to say something about something that's going on in the world currently, and you missed it. So what are you saying? What's your point with the show?
Well, the hand was never a religion.
But
you're talking about
saying?
organizations in general.
Yeah, organizations in general. Like,
right.
Just saying they're a cult, they're extremists, and it's like, no, you had an opportunity. Like, I'm not Muslim, but the Muslim religion, you know, you have some extremists and some genuinely good people, and they had an opportunity to kind of say something about that, but they opted not to.
There's clearly a problem with the message of the series, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the integrity of it.
There's no real message that it's sending besides, you know, this is just Danny Rand leaving his job as the Immortal Iron Fist to come back, and we don't actually know why he comes back. Convinces himself, I think he convinces himself that he wants to find out what happened to his parents, but even that is never truly realized. And I think there's no direction with the show. There's no ethical rhyme or reason to it. There's no message, and all of this kind of stumbles on each other. And while it's entertaining, it feels half-hearted.
Yeah, it does, especially when compared to the other Marvel shows, which is what we were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just doesn't really hold up. And honestly, like, I really agreed with Danny's best friend from the monastery. What do you know? Davos, yeah. Like, you felt so bad for him. I actually genuinely really liked his character, and that's an actor who we've talked about. He was in Sherlock this past season, and he's been in other stuff that I really enjoyed. I think he's fantastic. I just feel like, why would Danny leave? Why did you work your whole life, sign on for this, and then just dip? And then whenever asked about the reason, you saw a bird flying, and, you know, his friend was right. Like, that could have been a message that the gate was open. You need to stay home. So the whole time, the whole show long, I'm waiting for when he goes back, he's in for a rude awakening. You know what's happening, and he's an idiot for thinking the gate's open. You know, if you were going to do that, why not just wait right before the gate closes and leave, so that your monastery family is safe, and then you can go on to whatever you were looking for, you know, out in the, like, your past. But the way that he did it just made no sense. Then you know that the hand exists and is out there, and you reveal yourself. So now they all know, oh, look at that, the Iron Fist isn't guarding the door. Why don't we go check it out? And, you know, it's free game. Like, it's like fish in a bowl. Or fish in a barrel? Shooting fish in a bucket? How does that phrase, you know?
Barrel.
Fish in a barrel.
Fish in a barrel! Okay,
getting
so
a little worked up here.
Yeah, so let's actually, like, take everything. The plot was okay. Some of the characters were okay. Solid villain. Lackluster protagonist. Let's look at where this could go. Clearly, the hand is planning something. We saw Colleen Wing dragged to their basement, where they're siphoning blood from victims.
Well, yeah, isn't that going towards that one guy from Daredevil?
Yeah, but we don't know who that one guy is at this point. We don't know who's inside that coffin that appeared in Daredevil Season 2. So who's to say, really? We also don't know what that big hole was in Daredevil, so that I thought that was going to be touched on in this show.
Yeah.
It never was. And really the only crossover between this series and all the other Marvel series is Claire Temple. So clearly she's going to be the one that gets everyone together for the first time. That's Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, and now Iron Fist.
Oh, I like her.
Yeah, I like the fact that she's training with Colleen now.
No, I think she's going Logan.
Oh, the bear claws that she has?
Yeah, I like them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Watching the series, watching all the Netflix series, do you guys think that these characters will show up in a film like Avengers Infinity War, which we know is taking characters from all corners of the MCU at this point, at least in the film universe? Will they incorporate these characters from the shows into the movie? And while that would be a huge treat for not just me and you, but millions of fans who watch these characters, is it realistic? And a few years back, the Marvel TV and Marvel Studios had a breakup, I guess you could say. Kevin Feige did not get along with what was happening over at Marvel TV, and they don't really have much communication or much say in things anymore. So I can't actually say whether or not these characters will see the light of day in any film going forward. but I would like to think so. I would like to hope so, especially in a film like Infinity War, where you could just show like a 10-second clip of 4 ground-type heroes fighting off a horde of whatever we're going to be seeing. Because, you know, the past 2 Avengers films, we have seen mindless hordes just crashing in on people.
Yeah, and I think, you know, what's the point of doing so much world building if not to add to the grand epic conclusion?
Mm-hmm.
So while I think it would be nice to do something like that, I think, you know, Marvel maybe might base it on how successful the Defenders as a show is.
Right, that's a good
Depending
idea.
on the timing, you know, of how things go. If they need to have it already set up prior to the show's release, and that's one thing. But I think they might want to wait and see, you know, if Defenders has the reception of Daredevil and Jessica Jones, or if it has the reception of Luke Cage and Iron Fist.
So yeah. So I know this review is extremely rambly. We're all over the board with this one because we're just we don't have any notes or anything. We've been watching this over the course of like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, we're just kind of rehashing, partially venting, and partially just trying to be honest with you guys. If we sat there, if we say something wrong, I'm sorry, but we're not the type to just sit there and research and have everything planned exactly how we're going to say it. We're just giving you our honest opinion after literally we were just over there watching the show.
This is a gut reaction right now, guys.
This is from the heart. This is from the kidneys.
Your heart is down here.
Then I said kidneys.
Oh, okay.
This is from the heart. This is from the kidneys.
That's my intestine. But ultimately, I really enjoyed the show. I think there's room for growth. I want to see more of Danny's training in Kunlun. I want to. We saw very small amounts of that. Whenever he was in Kunlun, it was clearly like a cheap set that they poured a little snow dust over. Come on, guys, do something.
For me, I think not Marvel worthy, not really exactly for me. Don't think I'll ever rewatch it or miss the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think they definitely need to do better next time.
Will you watch a second season?
Well, obviously, because then what am I going to do on the show? I have to make fun of something.
That's a good point. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe if you already haven't. And again, my name is Dakota.
I'm Jen.
And we are the Geekritique Show. Bye, guys.
Bye.